Okay, folks, we'll go ahead and kick this off. As always, I'm asking you all to please share this. There is also another page where this will be uploaded on elections.org. And of course, about a week and a half ago, I did the First Amendment. And the truth is that we have a lot of people out there that want to throw around the Constitution, but the reality is most people have never read the Constitution from start to finish. Most people will pick and choose what they think is important concerning the Constitution. And, like earlier today, I had a person, and he's a good friend of mine. There's nothing negative at all from this guy. But he was talking about how, during combat, we did things that was against other people. But understand, those were not Americans. And, when you snatch somebody off the streets in Iraq because of intel that says that person is probably maybe making bombs and things like that. Well, we do that. And you have to understand that we don't think about their constitutional rights because we're in the middle of a war, and that's a person who may be out there making bombs that are targeting American soldiers, so we do what we do. But the United States Constitution covers United States citizens. And, obviously, I started with the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom to protest, the freedom of the press. And we spoke about that. And instead of going straight to the Second Amendment, which we're going to do, I wanted to go ahead and go into the Fourth Amendment. It's basically illegal searches and seizures. That basically protects us. The Fourth Amendment protects us from illegal searches and seizures. So, at first I'll go off, and then of course we'll have a conversation here. The Fourth Amendment is in the Bill of Rights to the Constitution, which was introduced in Congress in 1789 by James Madison. The official wording in the Constitution states, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searchers and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized." That's the verbiage. Or to make it much simpler, it protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. Now, under the Fourth Amendment, law enforcement must receive written permission from a court of law or qualified magistrate to lawfully search and seize evidence while investigating criminal activity. So, if a police comes to your house and they want to come through the front door, they have to have a warrant. And it needs to say what they're basically there for. If it's a specific thing that they are to search for or a specific area, it has to be listed in the warrant. So, the court grants this request in the form of a warrant. A search or seizure is generally unreasonable and unconstitutional if conducted without a valid warrant. Okay? And understand that, it's important for law enforcement to make sure that they have those in hand. Just because a person is in law enforcement does not give them the right to just automatically come and do what they want. The ability to make warrantless arrests are commonly limited by statutes subject to the due process. Now, what is due process? It's fair treatment through the normal judicial system, and everybody is awarded due process. Okay, we'll talk a little bit here about this. A suspect arrested without a warrant is entitled to prompt judicial determination, usually within 48 hours. So basically, if a person is arrested without a warrant, the clock starts ticking. So I wanted to talk about this because when we start talking about illegal searches and seizures, one of the first things that should come in mind is, what about checkpoints? You know, how is it that they can just set up checkpoints? And I'm going to read this. Are DUI sobriety checkpoints legal? What the Supreme Court has said about the legality of sobriety checkpoints aimed at catching drunk drivers. The Fourth Amendment and balancing interests. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution allows only searches and seizures that are reasonable. And when police pull over a vehicle, it's considered a seizure for Fourth Amendment purposes. Typically, a vehicle stop is reasonable only if the police have a reasonable suspicion that the driver has broken the law. But with DUI checkpoints, police stop every car on the blocked road, meaning police detain these drivers without having reason to believe they did anything wrong. In spite of the general rule, basically, how can you stop these people? If they haven't been drinking, you shouldn't be allowed to stop them. Well, here's the deal. This is where this comes into play. The Supreme Court has found that temporary DUI checkpoint stops without reasonable suspicion do not violate the Fourth Amendment rights of drivers at checkpoints. Basically, the court said that the importance of keeping impaired drivers off the road generally outweighs the inconvenience and intrusion to motorists. So it's kind of like, you know, anything can be amended. It's like freedom of speech. Freedom of speech sounds like I can say whatever I want whenever I want. However, there have been amendments to freedom of speech, which says that you cannot run into a movie theater and scream fire. Well, this is also part of that, where they have amended the Fourth Amendment and they have said that checkpoints, to be able to try to find those out there that are drinking and driving, it's allowed. They can do that. And the reason for that's because we have a serious problem in this country when it comes to drinking and driving. We have thousands upon thousands of people die every year, and this is just something that we use to mitigate those numbers to try to bring them down. And it is what it is. Now, here's something. DUI roadblocks might be illegal under state law. Under the United States Constitution, as interpreted by the United States Supreme Court, DUI checkpoints are generally legal, but states have their own constitution and statutes. So what basically that means is that depending on the state in which you live, you may find out that DUI checkpoints may be illegal. These sometimes afford individuals greater rights with regard to interactions with law enforcement. Several states, including Iowa and Wisconsin, have statutes that prohibit sobriety checkpoints. And in a number of other states like Oregon, Washington, and Michigan, DUI checkpoints violate the state constitution. So for law enforcement in these states, sobriety checkpoints aren't an option. We have the United States Constitution, but you also need to know that each individual state has a state constitution as well. And like myself, as a state senator, that was something that needed to be dove into. Because once again, if you are going to be somebody that is going to be in that position, it's important that you understand what's going on. Talk to an attorney. If you've been arrested for driving under the influence or any other crime, get in touch with a qualified attorney. State laws vary and the circumstances of every case are different. An experienced DUI lawyer can tell you how the law applies to the facts of your case and lets you know if you have any defense you might work. Now, let me tell you something. This does not mean Ojeda has any support towards anybody out there drinking and driving. I think that if you're drinking and driving, you are absolutely wrong. A person who drinks and drives does not take into consideration everyone else out there that may be on the road. And, you know, as a person who has received a phone call in the middle of the night because of a close family member being in a serious car accident, I can tell you that, those are the type of things that you never forget. You never forget. You will never, ever forget that moment. And that's happened to me twice. Once being woke up in the middle of the night to people screaming and yelling because a severe accident has taken place. So definitely, I have no love for anybody out there drinking and driving. On July 15th, okay, and this is the main reason why I wanted to bring this Fourth Amendment, is because everybody is now seeing how these people have been sent into some of these major cities and they have been snatching people off the streets. Now, let me tell you something. This is the problem that we have in the United States of America when we have, number one, a president of the United States who absolutely, I will guarantee you, has never, ever read the Constitution. Guaranteed. Just like he hasn't read the Bible. I like them both, New Testament, Old Testament, the same. He's never read the Constitution. But the real danger is that he's surrounded by people who have, and they have chose to not follow the Constitution because they want to make sure they stay in good graces with him. And that's your William Barr and people like that. On July 15th, after protesting at the federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon, Mark Pettibone decided to head home. It had been a calm night. By 2 a.m., law enforcement hadn't used any tear gas. And with only a few exceptions, both the Portland Police Bureau and federal law enforcement officers had stayed pretty much out of sight. So on his way home, Pettibone bumped into a group of people who warned that people in camouflage were driving around the area in unmarked minivans, grabbing people off of the street. So he had barely made it half a block, when an unmarked minivan pulled up in front of him. Pettibone recalled, I saw guys in camo, 4 or 5 of them pop out, open the door, and it was just like, oh shit, I didn't know who you are and what you want with me. I'm basically tossed into a van, and I had my beanie pulled over my face so I couldn't see, and they held my hands over my head. Blinded by his hat, in an unmarked minivan, full of armed people dressed in camouflage and body armor who hadn't identified themselves. He was driven around downtown before being unloaded inside of a building. He wouldn't learn until after his release that he had been inside the federal courthouse. It was basically a process of facing many walls and corners as they patted me down and took my picture and rummaged through my belongings. Pettibone said, one of them said, this is a whole lot of nothing. Pettibone said he was put into a cell. Soon after, 2 officers came in and read him his Miranda rights. Now think about that. Just now, they read him his Miranda rights. You can already see that from the time they stopped and snatched him off the streets, that there are a few things that were done that were not constitutional. They didn't tell him why he was being arrested. He said they asked him if he wanted to waive his rights and answer some questions, but Pettibone declined and said that he wanted a lawyer. The interview was immediately terminated, and about 90 minutes later, he was released. He said he did not receive any paperwork, citation, or record of his arrest. You have laws regarding probable cause that can lead to arrests, he said. It sounds more like an abduction. It sounds like they're kidnapping people off of the streets. And ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter what side you were on here. Imagine that happening to you, where you are snatched off the streets. It don't matter that you're walking around. You may be dressed in daggone all black. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. You're snatched up. You're blindfolded. They rummage through your pockets. Once again, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, let me see. I want to make sure. I just want to make sure that secure in your persons, houses, papers, and effects. That's your pockets. That's your items that you have on you. So imagine going through that. Then they finally read you your Miranda rights, basically saying that you are now being obtained. Although you've been obtained now, you've been obtained for a while. They could have read the Miranda rights in the vehicle immediately after they picked him up. But they didn't. then all of a sudden, when you tell them that you want a lawyer, they let you go. So basically, they snatched these people off of the streets. There's no arrest record for Pettibone. The question that attorneys and politicians demand be answered are the following. What is the legal justification for searching people who are not participating in criminal activity? Just because people go out there and exercise their First Amendment rights, which means that they are allowed to protest. Think about that. Think about that. It doesn't mean that they've done anything wrong. Why are federal officers using civilian vehicles and taking people away in them? Are the arrests federal officers make legal under the Constitution? If so, how? Because the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, it's not reasonable. And this is absolutely against the citizen's Fourth Amendment right. Regardless of where you stand on this, you can be 100% supporting the police. That's okay. It's no problem. But still, there's a reason why we have rules and regulations in this country. There is a reason why we have a constitution. And when you see government officials abusing the Constitution, we have a problem. Authoritarianism is what we are now seeing. And that's what we're facing, ladies and gentlemen. A seizure of a person within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment occurs when the police's conduct would communicate to a reasonable person, taking into account the circumstances surrounding the encounter, that the person is not free to ignore the police presence and leave at his will. Secret police are not allowed to kidnap you from the city streets, regardless of whether you are protesting or otherwise. It's absolutely illegal. And this is what makes our country resemble a sad authoritarian country. That's what we're facing right now. And oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, talking about Mr. Pettibone, he has now filed a lawsuit, and he will win that lawsuit. And he is going to become a very rich person. And tax dollars that we as citizens pay are going to go to make him a very rich person. Now, what you say could be a good story, a good ending to a story for this guy, still is taking tax dollars to pay for people refusing to follow the Fourth Amendment, attacking citizens' Fourth Amendment right. Snatching folks off of the streets because of their colors, their skin color, what their clothing they're wearing. That is basically walking a fine line between kidnapping. And that's exactly what took place. Kidnapping. That's what it was. Kidnapping. Why is the Fourth Amendment important? The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution protects personal privacy and every citizen's right to be free from unreasonable government intrusion into their persons, homes, business, and property. Whether through police stops of citizens on the streets, arrests, or searches of homes and businesses. What does effects mean in the Fourth Amendment? Your effects, whether it is your personal property like a tube of lipstick or a sweater, and whether an individual remains in possession of the item and therefore renders it presumptively entitled to Fourth Amendment protection. For the most part, most people find the Westboro Baptist Church to be a bunch of douchebags. However, they are protected under the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. The first gives them the right to protest, however ugly it may be, and the Fourth Amendment protects them from being snatched up for doing so. The last thing we want in America is a group of people to become organized with the mission to deny people their Fourth Amendment right. Think about that. Once again, the last thing that we want in this country is for a group of people to become organized with the mission to deny people their Fourth Amendment rights. President Donald Trump saying that he's going to be sending these forces to other cities is absolutely stomping all over these people's Fourth Amendment constitutional rights. Fact. That's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. Our president does not understand the Constitution. Our president has never read the Constitution. Our president has a person, William Barr, who is too chicken shit to educate the president on the Constitution, and therefore is following through, pushing these teams out to absolutely deny citizens their Fourth Amendment rights. Fact. That's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. William Barr is absolutely wrong with his support towards these actions, and in the end should absolutely face charges for not only allowing these secret squads to snatch folks off of the streets, but for being someone who most likely was the yes behind these teams even being established. William Barr. In the end, when they go after Donald Trump, whether it be being impeached again, whether it be being indicted for things that he's done, William Barr absolutely deserves to be arrested and should face justice for what he's done. Donald Trump commenting that these groups are going to be sent to cities across the country only shows how little our president understands and respects the Constitution of the United States of America. What we are seeing is a group of individualists who either do not understand the Constitution or those willing to go against the Constitution because they feel the president will protect them. You may not like people who oppose you, but in America, it is not authorized for anyone to snatch people off of the streets. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's your Fourth Amendment. And that's why it's important for people to pay attention, read up. We're not all experts. I'm not a constitutional expert. I'm not, But once again, we're seeing things take place in our country that really is starting to resemble things that they saw in Germany, where you had a person rise to power and immediately wants to go ahead and shit all over the capabilities that protect people, that protect businesses, that protect people from having their stuff searched and stolen. Look at what happened in Germany. Look at what it was because of these type of practices is why 6 million people lost their lives. That's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why it's important. We have a constitution for a reason in this country. And we can allow anybody, no matter what, this president, the next 5 presidents, we cannot allow anybody to come in here and shit on our Constitution. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are watching it take place. We should not see one more person snatched off of the streets by any daggone secret squad that is not showing who they are. And I don't give two shits. I hate the fact that they're wearing military uniforms, because some people will look at that and will automatically think military. And our military soldiers out there do not deserve to be put into the same category with these jackaloons that are snatching people off of the streets. And that's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I wanted to come on here. I'm still deciding on which will be the next, maybe the Second Amendment. I don't know. I'll let you guys know here in a couple days. But we're going to go through them all. Once again, I believe that you all can all go and check out these videos that I'm going to do on election.org. And obviously, you can see them on my page here. By all means, please feel free to share them. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm seeing somebody here. I want to open it up here for a few things, but somebody apparently said something, and I want to see what they said. What about? I don't know about. First off, anybody, George John, anybody who is participating, somebody is giving these orders. Somebody is signing these orders. Somebody is putting forth the financial capabilities to get these rental vans and go and do these things. And every single person that is involved in this chain of communication needs to be held accountable for this. It may not happen while we have this jackaloon in the friggin' White House, but let me tell you something. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. And when it does, it is important that we ensure that we put things, countermeasures in place to make sure that this bullshit never happens again. And that's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. That's a fact. Who called you out, Airborne? And if you come on my page, you need to be ready. If you come on my page and say something, you need to be prepared to be called out. Right now, we've got, somebody says, can justice be served now because of those actions? Well, technically they should. But unfortunately, we have people in power. You have Barr, who is let me tell you something. You cannot tell me, there's nobody in this country that deals with law can tell me that what Barr is doing, he can come up with the justification for that. You do not get to step on people's constitutional rights. It doesn't happen, ladies and gentlemen. It is not authorized. And only people who do that either don't know or don't care. President Trump don't know. Barr don't care. And that is two problems right there alone. So, I am not an attorney. I have nothing to do with anything in terms of legal. All I do know is that I have read the Constitution. And I think that, all of us, none of us are experts in the Constitution. I'm not an expert at the Constitution. But I think that something like this, where I come on here and we discuss amendments, we discuss the Constitution, and at the end of the day, we get something from it. If I sit down with somebody and I speak to them for an hour and then I get in my car and I leave, but I pick something up, it was worth the conversation. So if you want to come here and you want to listen and you want to participate, maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you will help by letting us know in the comment section maybe something that we were not aware of. There's a lot of people on here that follow me that are lawyers. And let me tell you something. I absolutely want to hear what they have to say. Constitutional law is absolutely being stomped on. Fact. It's a fact. And I'm just going to tell you, I got to be me. So let me see. Well, thank you, Patrick Webb. I appreciate that. But the truth is that, I threw my hat in the race to run for president. I had no money and I really had no recognition. The news media was not going to give me a chance, but I would have at least loved to have made it to the first debate, because I believe that if I would have made it to the first debate, I would have lit some people up that deserved to be lit up. That's right, Buddy Stapleton. We are never too old to be educated. That's a fact. I don't know everything. I don't. And if you can help me learn something, then I absolutely appreciate that. If anybody has anything else, concerning the Fourth Amendment, please throw it on here. It is what it is. So that's just it. Well, thank you, Mark Kinzer. I appreciate that. I catch a lot of hell on it. People give me flack all the time. The biggest mistake that I ever made was resigning my state Senate seat. But at the time, I thought I was doing what was right. I thought that people would look at me and say, hey, you know what? You don't want to draw the pay, so you want somebody else to sit there that can do the job, because I was running for office. I thought I was doing the right thing. Instead, it has cost me dearly in terms of West Virginia, which is why I'm done in politics in West Virginia. I have no desire to run again. And that gives everybody the excuse. The unions stabbed me in the back. They got a person to run to take votes away from me. We know this. And of course, their excuse is, well, he resigned his seat. That right there was absolute bullshit, but it gives them the excuse. Unions stabbed me in the back. And you know what? I mean, it's like I see these grades now. I'm seeing this all day. So-and-so got an F grade. I got an A+ grade. from the teachers, and I couldn't even get the teachers' endorsements. But I do know that a lot of teachers supported me, and I know that there's still a lot of teachers out there that are appreciative of what I've done for teachers, and that right there is all I need. You know, as long as Karina Scott loves me, I don't give a shit. As long as Karina Scott loves me and I can call her at 11 o'clock at night and she'll give me her ear, I'm a Karina Rouse. I call her Karina Scott, same thing. She knows who I'm talking about. I love you dearly. You know that. And that's just how it is. So what do we got? Anybody else? Well, you know, unions are not what they used to be, but it doesn't mean that unions deserve to fall. I will stand by unions wholeheartedly. That is the working class citizen, and the working class citizen deserves to have a seat at the table. Working class citizens deserve collective bargaining. Working class citizens deserve to have a voice. The problem is that, you know, a lot of times the people at the top don't do what the people at the bottom want them to do. And sometimes they just take it upon themselves. And the truth is, I think that, you know, I believe that if the teachers would have got a chance to decide, I believe that I would have got the teachers' endorsements. But I didn't, because the person at the top absolutely, you know, was playing complete politics. And that's why unions are in so much trouble. That's why eventually unions will die. In West Virginia, unions are going to die. Right now, unions are endorsing McKinley when they could actually endorse Natalie Klein, who is highly intelligent, could run circles around McKinley, by the way. But McKinley votes union 20% of the time, so there he goes. They're supporting Capito. And here's the thing. They say, well, we're supporting Capito over the United Mine Workers of America vote. Okay. Well, tell me something. Why did it take 6 years? Because she was a congresswoman for 6 years. Why did it take 6 years for that bill to show up? And everybody knows that I'm right. The only reason why that bill saw the light of day hadn't jack shit to do, didn't have jack shit to do with Shelley Moore Capito or Joe Manchin. What it had to do with was the fact, and I support Joe Manchin because Joe Manchin has fought for that bill. But the reason why that bill saw the light of day is in Kentucky, the governor, Matt Bevin, got beat by Andy Beshear Jr. And when he got beat, Mitch McConnell said, holy shit, Republicans are losing. So he said, I got a whole bunch of coal miners in eastern Kentucky that maybe if I pull this bill out and I pass it, I'll get their votes. And that's exactly what happened. Had nothing to do with Shelley Moore Capito. It didn't. But they chose to endorse Shelley Moore Capito. You know, once again, it's okay. I did not win the primary. But I had 200 years plus in my family, United Mine Workers of America. I rode on buses to Washington, D.C. to fight for coal miners' pensions. And all of my family members did as well. But it is what it is. I'm not going to cry over the past. But I will tell you that that's the reason why unions are absolutely dying in this area here. Because they are endorsing people that will never, for as long as they are in office, will ever fight right-to-work legislation. I can guarantee you Shelley Moore Capito will never fight right-to-work legislation. I can guarantee you that McKinley has never and never will fight right-to-work legislation. All because they vote for unions 20% of the time, but 80% of the time, unions get friggin' the shaft. And that's a problem that we have. Natalie Klein, ladies and gentlemen, if you were in the 1st Congressional District, I ask you to please support Natalie Klein. They decided not to endorse in the 3rd Congressional District. Hillary Turner running against Carol Miller. Carol Miller has done nothing but be an embarrassment. How can they not choose to endorse Hillary Turner? That is a slap in the face. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's what unions are doing. The AFL-CIO, we are not endorsing. Whenever they say whenever they say no action, that means that they're supporting the Republican, and that's exactly what they're doing. And like I said, at the end of the day, It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Ojeda is always going to be fine, okay? I will always do well. I'm never going to starve. Me and my wife are always going to be taken care of, and my kids are going to be taken care of. We're going to move. We've purchased land in North Carolina. We're going to build us a beautiful home, by the way, and I mean beautiful. And we have a 3-acre pond on the property, so we're going to have beautiful sights. I'm going to be literally a mile away from Holland Drop Zone, so we may be able to sit on my back porch, drinking a beer, and watching an airborne operation. What could be better than that? There is nothing that could be better than that. And that's what I'm going to do. And I hate that a lot of people in West Virginia are just going to continue going down this horrible path, because the people that are supposed to be standing up and fighting for you are making friends with the people that absolutely shit all over you. And that's it. And that's it. If I was a teacher in the AFT, I'd stop paying my friggin' dues. That's a fact. And if the president of the AFT has a problem, I'll be happy to go toe-to-toe with him. I'll debate him anytime he wants. He's full of shit, and it's a shame, because teachers deserve better. I spent 4 years in the classroom as a teacher of ROTC in Chapmanville High School. My ROTC program became the second largest program in the state of West Virginia. So I understand what life is like for teachers and school service personnel. You know, I had a lot of friends that were the cooks, that were the janitors, that were the bus drivers, and I know how they struggled. So when I stood up and I said what I said that night when I was a state senator that lit the match on the teacher strike, I did it from the heart. I didn't do it because I wanted any recognition. I just got sick and tired of watching these jackasses in the Senate and over in the House continue to attack our teachers. And what did I get for it? I got the shaft. But ladies and gentlemen, it's quite all right, because I'm always going to be okay. You know, I have plans of things that are going on that I believe wholeheartedly are going to be very successful for me and my family. And that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be awesome. So it is what it is. Who is that? Mark Kinzer, come down to North Carolina, brother. Heck yeah, bring your fishing pole. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that. You know, I don't know. I wish. Hey, let me tell you something. One of my proudest moments have been standing for correctional officers. You know, when it literally brought tears to my eyes when I was a state senator and they contacted me and they told me that I was being moved to the committee for corrections. I mean, because I knew how much that meant to me and how much I was going to fight for these people. You know, I have become great friends with correctional officers in this state. And I tell you, you know, I mean, Hank, Mo, you guys know who I'm talking about. I love you guys, man. And for me to be able to fight to help them get pay raises, it meant the world to me, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We in this state should be raising the pay of our correctional officers, of our teachers, and of our police officers. Those three people deserve to have far better pay than what we give them. And if we did give them far better pay, we wouldn't have such a shortage in corrections. We wouldn't have so many people that, and look, it is what it is. If you raise the pay, you will get a lot more people applying for jobs. And when you get a lot more people applying for jobs, you get to pick the best of the best. I got 5 guys here wanting to be correctional officers. Well, let me look at these 5 guys. Who looks like they're in good physical condition? Okay, those 3 guys look like they're in good physical condition. Okay, now let's have a conversation and let's talk to them. And I'm going to pick the 2 that seem to be the most intelligent, that seem to have the most capability to go in here and do their job as a correction officer and not start a friggin' fire in a friggin' pod that becomes a friggin' hornet's nest. I get to pick the best. When we have shitty pay, I'm lacking friggin', you know, maybe this place employs 50 people and I only got 35. I need 15. I'll take all 5 of you. Even though a couple of you are probably going to quit. One of you is probably going to do something stupid and get in trouble. You see? When you raise the pay, you get more people applying. And when you get more people applying, you get to pick the best of the best. And when we have the best police officers, we don't have people getting shot from moving their hands from the 10 and 2 to the 9 and 3. When we have the best correctional officers, we don't have to worry about friggin' a damn uprising in the friggin' jail, because we got people who know what the hell they're doing and can speak to these prisoners in a way that doesn't friggin' make them go ballistic. If we raise the pay of teachers, we get the best of the best coming here. Instead of having the assistant football coach teaching friggin' Spanish, we'll get somebody that'll come here that actually speaks Spanish. It's not that hard, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't take rocket science. You see what I'm saying? All right, guys. That's it for tonight. Please share this with everybody. Once again, we've done the First Amendment. Now we've done the Fourth Amendment. If you guys would like, send me some messages and tell me which amendment you'd like me to do next. I'm open for whatever. It doesn't matter to me. It's all education. And in the end, we all walk away with a little more than we had before. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.